Welcome to True North Perspective, your source for unfiltered news. My name is Sean. Ever wondered how tariffs impact your everyday life? From the price of your morning coffee to the cost of your dream vacation. This episode explores the multifaceted impact of tariffs on daily life, focusing on Canada-US trade relations and recent developments in the steel industry, highlighting the effects of a proposed 50% steel tariff, which could increase building material costs and disrupt Canadian affordability and economic stability. The episode underscores the broader implications of tariffs on trade, industries, and consumer experiences. Tariffs are essentially taxes imposed on imported or exported goods. Governments use tariffs to regulate trade, protect domestic industries, or generate revenue. While they might sound like abstract economic tools, tariffs have a tangible impact on consumers and businesses alike. The trade relationship between Canada and the United States is one of the largest and most complex in the world. Over the decades, tariffs have played a pivotal role in shaping this partnership. From lumber and steel to dairy products, various industries have felt the push and pull of tariff policies on both sides of the border. The Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, better known as the USMCA, which replaced NAFTA, marked a significant evolution in tariff agreements, balancing protectionist measures with free trade ambitions. One of the largest headlines in the world of Canada and U.S. tariffs involves Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel. The two companies have reached a deal that's being described differently by various sources. President Trump has characterized it as a partnership or a blockbuster agreement, but it is also reported as an acquisition by Nippon Steel. Let's take a look at a quick video where President Trump, in a rally in Pennsylvania, announces these additional 25% tariffs.
We are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry.
25% tariffs. Moving on. According to some reports, U.S. Steel would become a wholly owned subsidiary of Nippon Steel while maintaining its brand and operations. However, the specifics, such as the extent of control and management, remain ambiguous, leaving uncertainty regarding the future of dynamics between the two companies. Let's take a quick look at an article that was published by Die Press, which sums up the tariffs between Nippon Steel, the tariffs and the agreement between Nippon and U.S. Steel. As you can see, the article was published very recently, and the article goes on to state Trump wants to double tariffs on steel. From Wednesday, tariffs of 50% are to be levied. The U.S. is the world's largest steel importer with 26.2 million tons in 2024, excluding the European Union. May 31st, to 2025 at 8:45, U.S. President Donald Trump continues to tighten the tariffs. We will raise tariffs on steel in the United States of America from 25% to 50%, which will further secure the steel industry in the U.S. Trump said at a rally in Pennsylvania on Friday. Later, he announced via social media that the increase also applies to aluminum products. It is to come into force on Wednesday. The EU threatened to react before summer. We deeply regret the announced increase in U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from 25 to 50%, said a spokesman for the EU Commission responsible for EU trade policy in Brussels. It undermines ongoing efforts to find a negotiated solution to the trade dispute, creates additional uncertainty for the global economy, and increases costs for consumers and businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. The EU is ready to take countermeasures, it added. This could also happen earlier than on July the 14th. According to the current status, counter tariffs from the EU will automatically come into force on this date, which were already planned because of Trump's first tariff decisions. The EU had actually wanted to put these measures into force on April 14th, but then suspended them after Trump granted many states and the EU a 90-day break from certain tariffs. This time window is actually to be used for negotiations. The EU had already stressed several times that it would introduce decisive measures against U.S. tariffs if the negotiation failed. Trump is thus increasing the pressure on global steel producers and once again intensifying the trade war. The tariff announcement came just hours after he accused China of violating an agreement with the U.S. to mutually dismantle tariffs and trade restrictions on critical minerals. Trump spoke at the Mon Valley Works, a U.S. steel plant in southern West Pennsylvania that symbolizes both the former strength and decline of U.S. heavy industry. Many steel mills and factories in the U.S. so-called Rust Belt in the Northeast and Midwest of the USA lost massive amounts of business in the wake of globalization and fierce competition from cheap imports. According to the Department of Commerce, the USA is the world's largest steel importer, excluding the European Union, with a total of 26.2 million tons of imported steel in 2024. The new tariffs are therefore likely to increase steel prices overall. At the event, Trump again promoted partnership between the Japanese steel giant Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel. Like the tariff increase, this will help to preserve jobs for steelworkers in the U.S., said the U.S. president. At the end of 2023, it became known that the Nippon Steel was seeking a takeover. Once again, I stress it was seeking a takeover of its U.S. rival for $14.9 billion, which is approximately 13.14 billion euros. Canada and Australia protest. Canada's Chamber of Commerce immediately condemned the tariff increase. This dissolution of efficient, competitive, and reliable cross-border supply chains, such as those we have for steel and aluminum, causes great costs for both countries, explained the Chamber of Commerce President Candice Lang. Australia also condemned the tariff increase as unjustified and not the act of a friend. Australia is also affected by the tariff increase. Around 4 million tons were exported from the EU to the US in 2023, with the most important countries of origin of imported steel being Canada, Brazil, and Mexico, according to US figures. The US imports aluminum mainly from Canada, the United Arab Emirates, China, and South Korea. It was not immediately clear whether there should be exceptions to the increased tariffs. For example, for Canada and Mexico, with which the U.S. forms a North American free trade area. Recently, there have been no exceptions. Trump has already threatened, or already implemented numerous of the tariffs in addition to a new punitive levy of 10% of the value of goods on almost all imports. He has also announced specific higher tariffs on import from many countries. This also affects major trading partners such as China and the European Union. Let's talk about the actual ripple effects that it has on consumers both in Canada and the United States of America. A 50% tariff could spike costs for building materials, leading to pricier homes and renovations. And Canada already has a severe problem with homes being very, very expensive. So a 50% tariff could spike costs for building materials, leading to pricier homes and renovations. This could ripple across the Canadian markets, affecting affordability, demand, and overall economic stability. 50% steel and aluminum tariffs are driving up costs in the auto industry across North America. As you know, Hyundai has already raised its prices. Manufacturing is getting pricier. Car prices may rise, and supply chains are being disrupted. Automakers are now considering alternative materials and production strategies, which could impact jobs, shift market trends. The Canadian government has responded with counter tariffs, adding to industry uncertainty. It's a complex situation with wide-reaching effects. Tariffs aren't just numbers on a trade agreement. They reshape industries, economies, and our everyday lives. Whether it is housing or automobiles, these policies shift ripples through markets, affecting affordability and innovation. As we navigate this evolving landscape, staying informed and engaged is just not an option. It's a necessity. The choices made today will define the future of industries tomorrow, and it's up to us to understand the true cost. If you found this valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm. Please join the conversation by leaving a comment, especially if you're a business owner. I'm intrigued to know how you're handling the tariffs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.